Alistair, obviously you've come in as interim Red Tractor chair. In terms of the challenges that Red Tractor are facing right now, how are you taking on that role? Was it a role that you wanted genuinely, and will you be applying for the permanent role?
I never saw it as a role that that I would be taking up. The chair was the chair, and I was very happy supporting the team, happy supporting the chairman. When the chairman moved on, I thought it was the right thing to do, to step up and support the team. We have a tremendously professional team, and it was a no-brainer, to be honest. I passionately believe in Red Tractor. I'm immensely proud to be a Red Tractor farmer. So it was a no-brainer. I thought, step up, lad, get on with it, and let's see what we can do and try and regain that confidence that seems to have been lost over the last few months.
And applying for that permanent position, is that something that you would consider?
Well, that's something that we'll see. It's too early to tell, but I certainly would not leave Red Tractor in the lurch, and that's my focus at the minute.
You mentioned in that answer there, in terms of building confidence, there has been a dwindle in confidence in Red Tractor over the last couple of months. How, as you as interim chair, are you going to build that trust and confidence back up?
I think first of all, we have to be better communicators. We have to be able to communicate to the farmers and get them to understand how important Red Tractor is to their businesses. And quite frankly, I think the communication side will be massive. We're already embarking on how we can communicate better. We're already looking at how we can improve the audit process and make it easier or better or easier for farmers. So I think there's some really good things in the pipeline, and I'm really excited about them.
How can Red Tractor members hold Red Tractor to account? Obviously, we're going through this governance review process. We've got the assurance review coming at the end of this year. How can Red Tractor members be reassured that they can hold you to account?
Well, if you remember, the governance review highlighted the fact that there was no real governance issues. The challenge is within the governance part of the Red Tractor, how would you call it, board and TAC structure. There are farmers present throughout the boards, throughout the TACs, and actually they are the means by which a lot of the standards are developed. So that through those boards, farmers have access to it. Likewise, we have some really good, highly professional farmers who chair those boards, and very strong professional chair people right throughout the board structure. So I am very confident that farmers' representation is well looked after. I'm a farmer myself. I understand where farmers are coming from, and I think personally that's really important.
Beef and Land Sector Board obviously have put in a letter to put forward a vote of no confidence in kind of the senior management at the top at Red Tractor. In terms of over the last couple of weeks, what changes have been implemented to try and put that sector board to reassure them?
Well, again, I'm heartened by the fact that we've had, and we're going through sector board processes at this week and last, and the communication updates and how we are working with technology, how we're trying to improve the audit system, I think is going down exceptionally well within the board structure. So I'm very confident that any disquiet will be put to rest in the fact that we have listened. We are very keen to act on what we've heard, and actually some of the stuff that's coming forward using technology, amalgamating standards. We've already taken out a huge number of audit points to make it easier. So we are doing the right things. The problem is we need to make a better job of telling farmers what we're doing, and I think that is where we're at.
So are you confident that if there was a vote of no confidence?
Oh, look. I'm confident that there won't be a vote of no confidence. I think everybody will realise that actually the senior leadership team is a fantastic group of people who are highly professional, who are dedicated to Red Tractor. And actually, I find it quite frustrating that we're not able to get farmers to understand that. And I think we have a challenge there that we have to address.
Yeah, what do you think is at the core of that? Why do you think farmers are not understanding?
I think it's difficult from a farmer's perspective when they are worried about their businesses. Single farm payment is disappearing. Red tape is always a horrible thing that farmers deal with. And to be honest, if you said to a farmer or anybody, said to you, how do you feel about being inspected? Everybody's going to turn around and say, we don't want that. But actually, if you say, how do you feel about being audited so that you can access all these different markets and actually potentially add value to your business, that might be a different way of putting things. So I think there's a lot to do in communication.
And that last bit, adding value to their business, the premium, that is what farmers want. If they're going this extra mile in terms of the auditing process, they want to be able to get that return.
You're right, but for me, Red Tractor farmers are among the best in the world. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm immensely proud of that. You talk about a premium, but actually market access and a one-stop shop for the retailers to avoid duplication, avoid extra audits from each individual retailer. That one-stop shop is hugely important to farmers. Don't forget there's over £15 billion worth of British product on the shelves today with the Red Tractor logo on. So there's a massive plus, and we mustn't forget that. I mean, there are many other ways of looking at how value can be added into your business through being a Red Tractor farmer. Take my farm, for example. We work closely through the animal, the beef plan and the herd health plan and the flock plan. We work closely with our vets, and the amount of money that we have saved with dosing stuff, improving the health and welfare of the animals. If you have fit, healthy animals, they perform better. And for us, we find that the Red Tractor, the cost of the audit, we've had that back 10 times. And talk to your vet, and the vet, because of that more professional approach, they find it easier to retain vets.
In terms of being a beef and lamb producer, why should a beef and lamb producer be Red Tractor assured when non-farm assured livestock is making the same price, if not in some cases, more money at auction marts?
You'll always get one or two head of stock that's a butcher's product, but the vast majority of the stock going through the auction mart, and they will end up on either a supermarket shelf or the halal market, possibly when it comes to lamb. But why would you not want to have full market access? And let's face it, when an animal is slaughtered and hung up in the slaughterhouse, that animal is not going to just one market. It's been cut up, it's been put into all sorts of different markets. So why would you run the risk of devaluing your carcass when you can have Red Tractor assurance that allows that carcass to be broken up and sent to all sorts of different markets? So for me, again, it's a no-brainer when you understand the supply chain and you recognise that this is how it works.
Why do you think Red Tractor are losing members when it comes members from the sheep sector?
I think there's an element of cost involved. It's a small cost, I accept that. I think there's an element of frustration, and I think there's an element of not understanding what Red Tractor can do for them. And it's very easy to, you know, to go to the auction mart and tip your lambs in. We're about to sell lambs next week. Now, without the farm assurance behind us, I can guarantee you, we would not be selling into the markets that we are selling into. And quite frankly, we are achieving more than we've been able to achieve in the auction mart. So I am fairly confident that actually, if we can reduce that audit burden, make it more simple, make it easier to do, use technology, reward good compliance by less audits, I think we'll find a way through this, and I think that sheep farmers will start joining again.
You mentioned about reducing audit burden, you know, avoiding duplication, investing in technology, but that is the narrative that's been coming out of Red Tractor for quite a number of years now, and farmers are still sharing their frustration over, you know, being able to kind of have just a very streamlined process. So what actually is happening in the here and now to try and...
Well, as I said to you, we took well over 100 audit points out. The paperwork went from that size to that size. That was back in October. So that was a big piece of work. I mean, you don't do this overnight. No. This takes time. We're now in a process of, as I said before, you know, trying to communicate better, but we're also in a process of finding ways for the portal to work better. Now, we use the portal here. Now, if we can get that portal to talk to other portals, then there's a lot of information that can be shared or pulled into that portal. That means then that the farmers don't need to do the paperwork. So if you use contractors, for example, a spray contractor, or he can put his spray records onto the portal, and my portal can talk to that. It's almost like the DVLA with your MOT and your road tax. And then, excuse me, when you find yourself in a situation that you have no non-compliances, why would we not give you recognition for that and extend the time period for the next audit? And in between, you can use, you know, possibly you could be looking at remote audits.
Some in the industry have suggested to keep Red Tractor requirements as a baseline and then require that the supplier will have to pay for bolt-on modules, essentially. What is your viewpoint on that?
I think anywhere where we can add value, we will have to look at, and we will have to embrace. But we must remember that Red Tractor is valued throughout the whole supply chain, and we mustn't compromise it. The consumer is the important end user, and anything that compromises their understanding of what we do, you know, we have to get the balance right. So
some in the industry may criticise that the balance isn't quite there, and some say Red Tractor is more in favour of retailers than it is the farmers, and the farmers' interests are being ignored. What would you say to them?
I would say that is not, that's not my understanding of it. I think the fact that we have, as I said before, in excess of £15 billion worth of product on the shelves of the retailers, and don't forget, the Red Tractor logo is the only one that you can trust to be 100% British. It's no good relying on the Union Jack, because product can be brought in and it can be processed and it can be slapped with the Union Jack. So the Red Tractor logo gives that value. And if you look at the amount of product on the retail shelf, please don't suggest that isn't of value.
Bolt-on modules, obviously, we had the Greener Farms commitment. Do you have any regrets with that? And do you see, say, in 6 months' time, a similar module being brought up, but learning from the GFC?
Well, the GFC, look, we've learnt lessons from the GFC. If it was to be invented again, would we do it differently? Probably. Farmers rejected it. Retailers asked for it.
Did you believe in it, Alistair?
To be honest, I think that's difficult. I did believe in it. I recognised where the retailers were coming from. I know that on my farm we're already doing it. However, we have learnt lessons from that, and we move on, and we move on to making the audit process easier, listening to the farmers. And in 6 months' time, if farmers turn around and say, we would like something, we would like a module that would cover X, Y, or Z, then Red Tractor will be in a place, or in the fullness of time, they'll be in a place, because you can't just do it overnight. So you have to give Red Tractor time to adapt, but we will certainly fulfill what the market requires and what farmers require.
And with supermarkets developing their own?
Well, that's a risk. That is a huge risk. And, the retailers are very keen to point out that they are under pressure. But let's see what this review comes up with. Let's look at what the recommendations are. And I'm really positive and excited about what this review can come up, because I think this is a reset moment for the whole of farm assurance. And I think there will be some really strong opportunities for Red Tractor, to come out of that.
Talking about the assurance review, obviously it's due to be published towards the end of this year. Are we on track with that?
No, you're probably asking the wrong person, because this is an NFU AHDB review, and quite frankly...
But what do you expect to come out of that? What do you hope to come out of it?
I have no expectations, and for me, I'm an open book when it comes to this. I think we have to embrace the recommendations, and I think that when you look at the value that Red Tractor can deliver, I think going forward, farming without subsidies, farming in an environment where farming rules for water is going to be much more important, carbon footprint, we are going to have to be ready to react, but farmers are going to have to tell us that that is what they want. Otherwise, look, farm assurance without farmers doesn't exist. But then farm assurance without your customer is massively important as well. So you need them both. Do you think that's
why the GFC just didn't work, because farmers weren't?
I think that's where we're at. Farmers just, I think it came on too fast. I think if I was honest and I hadn't been in the process, and the first thing I heard was what I saw in the farming press, I'd be thinking, oh my God. And that was where it, and that was the challenge.
How will you ensure the benefits of Red Tractor, we've touched upon this already, but properly filter down to farmers and growers rather than just with retailers and processors?
I think that for me as a Red Tractor farmer, I get the benefit of the market access. I get the benefit of the professionalism that others treat me with because I use Red Tractor standards. And I think the communication part will play a major role. People like me are going to have to get out in front of farmers. We have board chairs who are very keen to do the same. They're all professional people, and they're very capable. And I think we will have to win hearts and minds. In
terms of export markets for lamb, do you think Red Tractor Assurance is needed to kind of further grow that? I think
Red Tractor standards and Red Tractor Assurance is needed for all the exports, because any people that I've spoken to from outside this country, demand high assurance. So why would we not want to export our high standards to them? Likewise, as I said before, I genuinely believe we are among the best in the world. And likewise, I think that our consumer needs to realise that actually some of the imports that are coming in are to lower standards, and that needs to be resisted by Red Tractor product, and you can be assured.
That leads on nicely to my next question in terms of, do you think the consumer understands the value of
Yes,
Red Tractor?
I do.
You do generally feel.
I think some of it's getting better. I think some of the work that we've done with TV advertising has taken recognition, unprompted recognition from mid-40s up to, I think it was about 69%. No other assurance scheme has that type of recognition with the volume of product that's on the shelf. So for us, Red Tractor recognition among the consumer is massive.
Does it concern you, though, in terms of the imports and low welfare and animal welfare standards?
Of course it does. Of course it does. And that's why I'm proud, immensely proud of what I do. I'm immensely proud of the team, the small team that works in that office in London. You know, highly motivated professional people led by a senior leadership team that, again, is highly professional and highly motivated. They see the challenges from product coming in, and that's why I'm so passionate about Red Tractor, because I genuinely believe that we have an opportunity there to demonstrate to the consumer that actually to buy British, you need to use that logo, that assurance scheme, because it's the only one in town. Even with some of the highly rated other assurance schemes, you can import product and sell them under the logo. You can't under Red Tractor.
In an earlier answer, you talked about streamlining kind of the auditing process. Would you look to kind of join up with other assurance schemes?
I think they may have to find. That's not something that was on my radar. For me, Red Tractor is the premier assurance scheme, and for me, the Red Tractor will always be that way. And as I'm chair, that will be my goal, to ensure that stays as a premier assurance scheme, and hopefully, you know, at the same time to try and get the farmers to see how important that is as well.
So your vision for streamlining, how do you see that play out, though?
I think over the next period of time, I think we'll find a lot more farmers involved using technology. They're all on their laptops anyway. I think if we can encourage them to be farm assured 24/7, 365 days a year, rather than just before they have an audit, I think that would be useful. I think some of the technology will help with that. And yeah, I genuinely believe that a leaner, meaner audit system will attract a lot more farmers.
Do you agree with the statement that retailers will always seek out a point of difference? And that point of difference is, you know, where producer premiums are deserved?
I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't recognise the competitive nature within the retail sector, and it's the same with the processing sector. They're all very competitive. Each retailer is competing against the other retailer for footfall, so it can't always be on price. So therefore, the brand, what offers there are, and they're continuously competing with one another. So for me, that's always going to happen, but it's so massively important that we keep that Red Tractor as the one shop, for all, where they can all guarantee that level of assurance is there to assure them and underpin the brand if it has to be, but that level of assurance is always there. Now, they may well add little bits and pieces on, but I still think Red Tractor will be strong enough to resist the majority of that. And if, in the fullness of time, if there are to be modules, because we've already got a higher welfare module in chicken, I do know that there's potential to look at a higher module in pigs. So there will be examples. Whether the beef and lamb producers will get there, we'll have to wait and see.
Do you feel like that is obviously the sector that is challenging at the moment when it comes to Red Tractor? And why do you think
it is? Because you still have a lot of small producers and family farms who just don't get it. And some of the smaller producers will say, well, we can't afford it, or it's not value for money. But it's because they are small producers. It's not because, they won't get value from being in the Red Tractor. So for me, again, it's all about trying to bring them with us. It's all about communicating and talking to these guys and taking the time and the effort to, make sure that they understand. If after that they choose not to, then okay.
In your tenure as interim chair, just summarise for me your kind of key top priorities.
I think we have to, as I said before, we streamline the audit process. We make it easier. We communicate better with all in the supply chain. We support the team. We make sure Red Tractor, instead of in excess of 15 billion in the supply chain, we try to make sure that there's potential for it to be even more. We ensure that it remains as one of the best in the world. It's fit for purpose to challenge imported product, and it is always British.
It's a long list of things.
Well,
yeah.
As a farmer, that is what I want to see my assurance deliver.
And in terms of net zero, how will Red Tractor make sure producers get a fair share of essentially the pot of money within environment and net zero? Because the farmers will be asked to do a bulk of the workload. So how do we make sure that particular...
If the farmers ask Red Tractor to deliver on carbon auditing or nutrient management plans or anything like that, the farmers have to ask us to do it, and we can do it. If there's an opportunity for earned recognition, excellent. But we're in a place now where we have to listen to the farmers. We also have to listen to the rest of the supply chain as well. And we have to bring them together.
Which is a difficult task.
Which is really difficult, because farmers feel persecuted by the big retailers. But actually, we need to empower those farmers. We need to find a way as Red Tractor to empower those farmers to feel that they're not being downtrodden. They're actually engaged in that supply chain. And if we can achieve that better and make sure that the farmer's voice is heard as well, but let's not get away from this. There has to be a collective responsibility. It's not just going to be about, oh, I don't like this, you can't do it. There has to be a realization of the realities of the supply chain. There has to be a collective responsibility taken right through that supply chain. It can't be all about retailers, it can't be all about processors, and it can't be all about farmers. We have to bring it together.
Do you have empathy though for farmers, for example, a dairy farmer who right now, you've got standards to meet on your milk contract, you've got now standards from your bank, and then standards from Red Tractor. It's coming from all over the place. Is there an element of empathy for farmers in that situation, and how does Red Tractor see its role within that?
You're right, and I think we have to find a way to get those guys earned recognition when it comes to the bank side. There are already some processing contracts that require carbon audits, but again, tell us you want it and we'll give you it. And that earned recognition can happen. Now, Tesco has recognised that the direct suppliers, if they're Red Tractor, don't need a Tesco audit. There's perfect example of earned recognition. So more of that would be useful, but we can't do it without the farmer support, and the farmers need to support us on that. If they want us to do that, great, we're in there.
Obviously, in the industry, it has been, widely publicised about the lack of confidence and distrust. Do you think this really is a turning point for Red Tractor?
Yes, I do. And I think that's why I'm so excited and optimistic about the results of this review. People talk about a reset moment. I think this is a real opportunity for us to have that reset.
Do you think it took an internal change within the organisation for this to happen?
When you say an internal change, a mindset change, yes. But then again, you have to understand, the professional team are doing a professional job, and if the communication upwards and downwards and is not of that ilk, or it's not hitting the spot, then mistakes are made. Now, I personally believe 100% in the quality and the team. The professionalism is without doubt.
It's the communication that you're saying is the core challenge here.
And it's a communication both ways. You can only communicate to people who listen. And we need to have people who want to listen. Red Tractor is listening. Make no mistake, it is listening, and we will take forward.
Do you think it's taken the governance review for that to be a bit of a wake-up call, or do you think it's been building?
To be honest, it didn't. For me, the governance review was always a governance review. It's not about you should be doing this. This was looking at governance, and the governance, although it's quite lengthy and quite cumbersome, actually it did the job, because you had farmers involved all the way down the chain, although farmers said, well, we weren't listened to. But I come back to that collective responsibility. So the governance was sound. So that was where we're at. But I think a recognition that the GFC had been either before its time or had shocked farmers into not realising that this was coming. We probably didn't speak to them enough, didn't tell them enough about it. So yeah, we have to take that in the chin, and we have to learn from that.
Just finally, in terms of farmers and RT members listening to this, what is your message to them going forward now?
Well, quite frankly, my message is I'm a Red Tractor farmer. I'm immensely proud to be a Red Tractor farmer. I genuinely do believe it adds value to my business. And for me, I think we need assurance, Red Tractor farm assurance going forward. I am very proud of the team that I work with, the sector board chairs and the whole team. It's only a small team, but the whole team in London. I would like to see Red Tractor being able to challenge imports coming in and protect the farming industry. I see it as not only a good marketing tool, but a good protection for farmers. And in the fullness of time, I want to see technology working to our advantage, making it easier for farmers. And I want farmers to be proud of the product and be able to stand up and show that it's all very well farmers saying the consumer should buy this and buy that, but and it's reared to the highest standards. But it's only when you can prove it that the consumer will listen to you. And I want farmers to be proud to stand up and prove it and take the consumer on that journey.
Farmers have also said, in terms of they want that reassurance that Red Tractor is on their side, as well as obviously other people in the supply chain.
Do I not sound as though I'm on their side?
But, you know, there have been some in the sector calling for internal change. Obviously, the chair has stepped down due to other reasons, but in terms of the chief executive as well. And I just wondered what your reaction is to that, and do you think that's an unfair comment to make?
For me, I do think it's an unfair comment, because as I've spoken to you about collective responsibility, you know, the board chairs, the standards committee, vice chair, we all have to take responsibility. We are the ones who set the targets, the direction of travel, the people sitting on the AFS board, who are represented by independents, farming unions, retailers, professionals, consumer experts. They are all setting the direction of travel. So the senior leadership team, they're implementing that at their request. They're not inventing off the wall standards just to annoy farmers. There is a whole governance structure in there where farmers are involved, retailers, processors, vets, everybody's involved in this, millers. So again, there's that collective responsibility, and we all need to take that, because that is what drives Red Tractor. The senior leadership team and the professionals in that office deliver what these boards tell them. It's not the other way around. Although some farmers feel it is, but I promise you it's not.
And just finally on that term, collective responsibility, how, in your opinion, do you think we can build just a better relationship with retailers and supermarkets? It is very divisive out there.
When you say we,
at Red Tractor,
I think we have to maintain standards that allow the retailers to have a confidence in those standards that they can all go to, and perhaps they may have to recognise that from those standards they may have to build a module which they will pay for. That is where I hope we can get to. I don't think we're far away from that. Bearing in mind, you know, we have, and I'm going to say it again, but we have over 15 billion pounds worth of product on the retail shelves. So they value that product. They value that assurance. So it's very clear that they value that one-stop shop.
Alistair Mackintosh, thank you so much for your time.